Forgiveness is a strange and fragile thing. We offer it like a gift, wrapped in hope and tied with a ribbon of second chances. We hand it over, watching carefully, hoping it will be treasured. Sometimes it is. And sometimes it is taken, examined for a moment with a curious smile, and then deliberately, quietly, smashed on the ground right in front of you. The first time I forgave my daughter-in-law, Sophia, it was for a lie. A big, ugly, complicated lie that rearranged our family for a year. It hurt. It created scars. But when she came to me, tears streaming down her face, her voice shaking with what seemed like true remorse, I chose to believe her. I chose to believe in the woman my son Daniel loved. I chose peace over permanent war. I told her, "We all make mistakes, Sophia. What matters is that we learn from them. I forgive you." She hugged me so tightly, I could feel her heart hammering against my chest. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick. "I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you. You'll see." And for a while, I did see. I saw effort. I saw change. I let myself believe the scar tissue had made us stronger. I let myself trust again. But that first forgiveness, it wasn't a bridge to a better place. It was a lesson to her. A lesson in what I would tolerate. A map of my weaknesses. She studied my mercy, learned its shape and its limits. And then, with the patience of a master strategist, she planned her next move. The second thing she did, it didn't just break my trust. It didn't just break my heart. It broke me. The person I was, the forgiving, hopeful, trusting mother and grandmother, shattered into 1,000 pieces. And from those pieces, someone quieter, sadder, and infinitely more careful had to slowly rebuild. This is the story of the first lie I forgave, and the second act that taught me some breaches can never truly be mended. To understand the weight of the second betrayal, you have to feel the lightness that came before it. You have to know my Daniel, and you have to know the world Sophia first walked into. Daniel is my only child. His father, my Michael, passed away when Daniel was just 15. A sudden heart attack. It was just the two of us after that. A tight little unit against the world. He was a quiet, thoughtful boy who grew into a kind, gentle man. He felt things deeply. He loved with his whole heart. When he brought Sophia home 8 years ago, I saw that heart shining in his eyes. He looked at her like she hung the moon and all the stars. And Sophia, she was dazzling. Not just beautiful, though she was certainly that. She had an energy, a brightness that filled a room. She was a talented graphic designer, creative and ambitious. She called me Mama Elena from day one, which melted my heart. She asked for my recipes. She remembered my favorite flowers. When my arthritis acted up, she brought over special heating pads and creams. She seemed in every way to be the daughter I'd never had. When they got married, I was overjoyed. When my granddaughter Lily was born 3 years later, my world felt complete. I was there in the hospital. I was the first person besides Daniel and Sophia to hold her. Sophia, exhausted and radiant, looked at me and said, "Here's your grandma, Lily." The best one in the world. I believed her. I believed in our little family. The first 3 years of Lily's life were golden. Sunday dinners at my house. Sophia and I baking together while Daniel played with Lily on the floor. Long talks over tea. She confided in me about her hopes, her fears about balancing motherhood and her career. I gave advice when asked, offered babysitting whenever I could. We were a team. Then, about a year ago, small things began to feel off. Daniel seemed quieter, more stressed. He was working longer hours. Sophia was suddenly very busy with new, important clients. She talked a lot about money, big projects, big bonuses, big plans. Our relaxed chats became more about her ambitions, less about our family. The first real crack appeared last September. Daniel showed up at my door alone on a Sunday morning. He looked pale, like he hadn't slept. "Mom," he said, his voice hollow, "we need to talk. It's about Sophia." My heart sank. He told me a story that made my blood run cold. Sophia had taken out several large loans in his name, without his knowledge or consent. She had forged his signature. She said it was for a sure-thing investment opportunity with a client. The opportunity had collapsed. The money was gone. And the loan companies were now calling Daniel, demanding payment. The amount was staggering. It was more than a year of his salary. Why? Was all I could whisper. Why would she do this? Daniel shook his head, tears in his eyes. She said she wanted to surprise me, to build a better future for us. For Lily. She said she was trying to help. But it wasn't help. It was fraud. It was a breach of trust so fundamental it threatened their marriage, his credit, our stability. When I confronted Sophia, the scene was terrible. She was hysterical, sobbing, begging for forgiveness. She spun a tale of pressure, of a manipulative client, of her own desperate desire to provide. She claimed she'd been trying to fix it in secret before Daniel found out. She got on her knees, literally on her knees, in my living room. "I'm so sorry, Mama Elena. I'm so stupid. I was trying to do something good and it all went so wrong. Please, please don't hate me. Please don't make Daniel leave me. Lily needs her family whole." She appealed to me as a mother, as a grandmother. She weaponized my love for my son and my granddaughter. And I crumbled. I looked at my shattered son and my sobbing daughter-in-law and my precious Lily sleeping in the next room. And I chose the path I thought would cause the least total pain. I helped them. I gave them a large portion of my own savings, money Michael had left me, to help pay off the most aggressive debts. It cleaned me out, but it saved their home, their credit. We sat at this very kitchen table, the three of us, and we made a plan. Sophia would get a second job. Daniel would take on extra work. They would pay me back, slowly over time. Most importantly, Sophia would get counseling. There would be complete financial transparency forever. I laid down the law. "This is your one chance, Sophia," I said, my voice trembling but firm. "One chance. You have broken Daniel's trust and mine in a way that may never fully heal. But for the sake of this family, for Lily, we will try. Do you understand?" She nodded, gripping my hands. "I understand. I swear on Lily's life, I will never betray you again. I will earn back your trust. Every day." Daniel, hopeful and desperate to believe his wife, agreed. I forgave her. I said the words, and in that moment, I truly meant them. The months after the Great Loan scandal, as Daniel and I darkly joked in private, were tense but purposeful. There was a grim determination in the air. Sophia did get a part-time job on weekends. Daniel took freelance projects. They gave me small payments each month, as promised. Sophia sent me screenshots of their joint bank account. She was overly transparent, sending me updates on every bill paid. She was also excessively, almost suffocatingly, attentive to me. Flowers for no reason. Constant texts checking on me. "Thinking of you, Mama Elena. Lily made you this drawing. I saw this, and it made me think of you. It felt performative, like she was reading from a script titled How to Act Profoundly Grateful. But I told myself to accept the effort. Maybe this was just how she showed remorse. The real tension was between them. Daniel was going through the motions, but the light in his eyes for Sophia was dimmed, replaced by a cautious watchfulness. They didn't laugh as much. Their conversations were polite, logistical, about bills, about Lily's schedule, about work. Sophia, meanwhile, began to paint herself as the hero of the story. in subtle ways. She'd sigh and talk about how hard she was working to fix her mistake. She'd talk about her exhaustion from 2 jobs, her sacrifice. The narrative slowly shifted from "I committed fraud" to "I'm carrying the burden of saving our family." I didn't like it, but I said nothing. Peace was fragile. Then, 6 months after the forgiveness, Sophia's father passed away suddenly. She was devastated. She had to travel out of state for the funeral and to help her mother with arrangements. She'd be gone for 2 weeks. Daniel and Lily stayed behind. Those 2 weeks were a revelation. With Sophia gone, the cloud of tension in their apartment lifted. Daniel laughed more. He seemed lighter. We had long, easy dinners, just the 3 of us. Lily, who had been clingy and quiet, became her bubbly little self again. One evening, after putting Lily to bed, Daniel sat at my table with a glass of wine. He was quiet for a long time. "Mom," he finally said, "these 2 weeks, it's been like a vacation. A vacation from walking on eggshells." My heart ached for him. "I know, son. I've seen it. I love her," he said, the pain clear in his voice. "I love the woman I married. But I don't know who that is anymore. The lying, the manipulation, it changed her. Or maybe it showed me who she really was. I don't know if I can ever look at her the same way." "You're trying," I said softly. "That's all you can do," he nodded, but he looked utterly lost. When Sophia returned, she was wrapped in a new cloak of grief. It was real, I'm sure of that. Losing a parent is a profound pain. But she also wielded that grief like a shield. Any attempt at a difficult conversation was met with, "I can't deal with this right now. My father just died." Her part-time job stopped. The debt repayments to me slowed, then stopped. "My mental health," she said. "I need to focus on healing." Daniel and I exchanged worried looks. But we yielded. How could we not? She was grieving. The dynamic shifted again. Now, Sophia was the fragile one who needed to be cared for. The narrative of her being the hard-working, repentant sinner faded. Now she was the wounded daughter, the struggling young mother. Our careful, balanced system of accountability fell apart. She started spending more money again. Online shopping packages arrived frequently. She got a new, expensive haircut. "Retail therapy," she said with a sad smile when I asked. "It's the only thing that helps the pain." Daniel was sinking back into quiet despair. The debts were still there. My money was still gone. And Sophia was once again living in a world of her own creation, where her needs and her pain were the only things that mattered. I felt the first cold trickle of fear then. My forgiveness, my sacrifice, hadn't fixed anything. It had just given her a new playbook. First, she played the repentant sinner. Now, she was playing the tragic heroine, and I began to dread what role she might choose next. The turning point didn't arrive with a bang. It arrived in the silent, digital glow of my tablet on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, 5 months ago. I was watching Lily for the weekend while Daniel and Sophia went on a marriage retreat weekend, Sophia's idea, paid for with what little savings they had managed to rebuild. She said it was to reconnect, to heal. Daniel went along with it, hopelessly. Lily was napping. I was browsing on my tablet, idly scrolling through a social media site I rarely used. A friend from my book club had tagged me in a post about a local art fair. As I clicked through the event page, a sponsored ad caught my eye. It was for a high-end interior design firm. "Transform your home," the headline read. And there, in a small gallery of our team photos, was Sophia, smiling her brilliant professional smile. The caption read, "Sophia, senior designer and partner." The word felt like a physical blow. I clicked on her profile. It was filled with professional photos, her in sleek offices, at fancy launches, holding awards, client testimonials praising her vision and expertise. According to this profile, She had been a partner at this firm for over a year. Over a year. That meant she was made a partner right around the time of the loan scandal, right when she was sobbing about financial desperation. My hands were ice cold. I started digging. It wasn't hard. The firm had a website. It listed her biography. It mentioned a prestigious portfolio of residential and commercial clients. I looked up the firm's registration. With trembling fingers, I did a public records search for business licenses. And I found it. The firm wasn't just a firm she worked for. She was a listed co-owner. She had an ownership stake. The part-time job she quit? The struggle to make ends meet? The performance of exhaustion and sacrifice? It was all a stage play. While Daniel was killing himself with freelance work, while I was eating into my own modest retirement budget to help with Lily, while we were all living in a story of scarcity and struggle, Sophia was a partner in a successful design firm. She had income, status, and assets she had never disclosed. The loan scandal wasn't a desperate mistake. It was either a deliberate theft from her own husband, or it was a way to finance the buy-in for this partnership without having to share the success or the risk with him. She used his name, his credit, to fund her secret career advancement. And the second act, the grief, the retreat, the shopping, was just smoke and mirrors to keep us from looking too closely, from asking about money, from discovering her parallel, prosperous life. I felt sick. The room spun. This wasn't a second lie. This was the same lie, bigger and more elaborate. My forgiveness had been a green light. It had told her she could get away with it. So she built a fortress on top of that first lie. A fortress where she lived a comfortable, separate life, while the rest of us lived in the ruins of the trust she'd destroyed. I didn't call Daniel at his retreat. I let him have those last few hours of ignorant peace. I sat in my silent house, the truth like a block of lead in my chest, and I waited. When they returned Sunday evening, I asked them to come over. "It's important," I said, my voice thankfully steady. They arrived, looking tired. Sophia was talking about the breakthroughs they'd had. I didn't let her finish. "Sit down, please," I said. I placed my tablet on the table, the firm's website open on her smiling profile. I slid it toward Daniel. He looked at it, confused. "Yeah, that's her firm. She does freelance for them sometimes." "Read the title, Daniel," I said quietly. His eyes scanned the page. I watched as understanding dawned. The color drained from his face. "Partner?" he whispered. He looked at Sophia. What is this?" Sophia's smile was frozen. Her eyes darted from the tablet to Daniel to me. I saw it then. Not panic, but a furious, rapid calculation. She was deciding which lie to tell next. It's just a title, Danny," she said, her voice artificially light. "It doesn't mean anything. It's for client appeal." "A title you've had for over a year," I said, my voice still calm, though my heart was hammering. "According to the business registry, you're a co-owner, Sophia. You have an equity stake. That requires money. A buy-in?" The silence in the room was absolute. Daniel was staring at his wife as if seeing her for the first time. "The loans," Daniel said, his voice hollow with dawning horror. "My God, the loans. You used my name. You stole from me. To buy into this? To become a partner?" Sophia's mask finally cracked. Not into tears of remorse, but into something colder. A defensive, hardened anger. "I didn't steal from you," she spat. "I invested in us. In our future. This firm is successful. I was building something real. Something that would pay off 10 times over. You just couldn't see the bigger picture. You and your mother, with your cautious little lives, counting every penny." She wasn't denying it. She was justifying it. And in her justification, she showed us her true heart. To her, we weren't family to be trusted. We were resources to be leveraged. obstacles to her bigger picture. Daniel stood up. He didn't yell. He just looked broken, in a final, irrevocable way. You used me. You lied to me. You let me work myself to the bone. You let my mother give up her savings, all while you were living a secret life. You let us think we were struggling together. We weren't. You were winning, and you were letting us lose. He turned and walked out of the house. He didn't look back. Sophia turned her furious gaze on me. "This is your fault," she hissed. "You couldn't just let it go. You had to go digging. You had to control everything. You never really forgave me. You just wanted to hold it over me." I looked at this angry, beautiful stranger in my kitchen, and I felt nothing. No anger, no hate, just a vast, empty sadness. "I did forgive you, Sophia," I said, and my voice was terribly quiet. "That was my mistake. I forgave a lie, and in doing so, I showed you how to tell a bigger one. I won't make that mistake again." She grabbed her purse and left, slamming the door. I sat alone at the table, in the silence of the demolished truth. The first betrayal had broken my trust. This one broke my belief in redemption. It broke my hope. It broke me. What followed was a slow, painful unraveling. Daniel filed for divorce. It was not amicable. Sophia fought for everything, using the money from her secret partnership to hire an aggressive lawyer. She used Lily as a weapon, making access difficult, scheduling conflicts at the last minute. The kind, vibrant woman I'd known was gone, completely replaced by this cold, combative strategist. My savings were truly gone now, spent on the first crisis. I couldn't help Daniel with his legal fees. I felt helpless. The guilt was immense. Had my first forgiveness enabled this? Had my desire for family peace blinded me to the monster we were feeding? Daniel was a shell. The betrayal was so profound, so personal, it shattered his worldview. He was in therapy. We both were. Sometimes we went together. We were learning how to be a family of two again, but we were both wounded, limping. Lily was caught in the middle, 5 years old, confused, shuttled between two homes filled with tension and grief. When she was with me, she'd ask heartbreaking questions. Why doesn't Mommy like Daddy anymore? Did I make them sad? I held her and told her she was loved, so deeply loved, by all of us. But the words felt hollow against the reality of her splintered world. The worst part was the loneliness. Not the physical loneliness, but the loneliness of the truth. I couldn't talk to most friends about it. The story was too sordid, too complicated. My daughter-in-law committed fraud to secretly become a business partner and is now using the profits to fund a brutal divorce from my son. It sounded like a soap opera. It felt too shameful. So I carried it silently, this heavy, ugly secret, with only Daniel to share the load. I saw Sophia sometimes, during Lily handoffs. She was always perfectly put together, driving a new car. She'd look at me with a cool, dismissive gaze, no trace of the Mama Elena affection left. She had won, in a material sense. She had her career, her money, her freedom. She had paid no real price for her lies. I had to learn to live in a world where that was true, where the bad actor doesn't always get her comeuppance, where forgiveness can be used as a tool against you. It was a colder, harder world than the one I'd believed in. I stopped looking for closure from her. There would be no apology, no moment of reckoning. The closure had to come from within. I had to forgive myself for being too trusting, for wanting peace so badly I ignored the warning signs, for giving away my security. That forgiveness, for myself, was the hardest work of my life. Daniel and I, in our shared devastation, forged a new bond. It wasn't the easy, joyful bond of before. It was scarred and somber. We were survivors of the same shipwreck, helping each other to shore. We talked about things we never had before, our fears, our regrets, our vulnerabilities. In the ruins of the family we tried to build, we found a raw, honest connection. I started painting again, a hobby I'd abandoned when Michael died. I didn't paint pretty pictures. I painted dark, swirling abstracts. It was a way to put the turmoil outside of myself onto a canvas. It helped. Slowly, the sharp, screaming pain of the betrayal dulled into a constant, manageable ache. The anger faded into a weary sadness. The world regained some color, though it was a more muted palette than before. It has been almost a year since that Tuesday I found the website. Lily is 6 now. She is resilient, as children are. She has 2 homes, 2 sets of rules, and she is adapting. We shower her with consistent love, Daniel and I. We are her safe harbor. She is the one pure good thing to come out of all this. Daniel is dating someone, a kind, quiet librarian. He is cautious, and that's wise. I like her. She is nothing like Sophia. She is real and steady, and she looks at my son like he is a man, not an opportunity. As for me, I am different. The woman who freely offered forgiveness, who believed in second chances as an absolute good, is gone. I am more guarded. My love is quieter. My trust is earned in teaspoons, not given in gallon jugs. I learned that forgiveness is not a virtue to be given blindly. It is a sacred gift, and it must be placed carefully in hands that have proven they can hold something fragile. I gave mine to hands that were closed into fists, and it was crushed. I also learned that being broken is not the end. You gather the pieces. You examine them. You keep the ones that are still good, your love for your child, your capacity for quiet joy, your core strength. You let go of the pieces that were illusions, the need for a perfect family picture, the belief that love always conquers all, the idea that goodness is always reciprocated. From the remaining pieces, you build something new. It's smaller. It has cracks. The light comes in differently, but it is yours. It is authentic, and it is strong in a way the old, fragile structure never was. Sophia walks through the world successful and unpunished. That is her truth. My truth is here, in this smaller, quieter life. It is in the evenings Daniel and Lily come for dinner. It is in the smell of paint in my spare room. It is in the quiet strength I found at the very bottom of my despair. I forgave her once. It was the kindest thing I knew how to do. What she did next broke me. It was the cruelest thing she knew how to do. And from those 2 facts, my kindness, her cruelty, I had to build a new self. A self that is still kind, but never naive. A self that is careful, but not closed. A self that is broken, but beautifully, resiliently reassembled. The first betrayal taught me about her. The second betrayal taught me about myself. And in the end, knowing myself, the good, the flawed, the enduring, has been the only lesson that truly matters. The first betrayal taught me about her. The second betrayal taught me about myself. And in the end, knowing myself, the good, the flawed, the enduring, has been the only lesson that truly matters. If this story touched you, or if you've ever faced a betrayal that changed you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Your stories remind us that none of us are truly alone in our heartbreak. And if you want to hear more real-life stories about family, love, and the lessons we learn the hard way, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon. A new story is waiting for you every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Thank you for listening. Truly. Good night.